the snow behind. Hello, welcome to Activate Your Prosperous Life interview series live streams. We are going live every day. So if you are just catching us for the very first time, go into the feeds that you're watching this on and you will find other topics that we're talking about. Today is a very important one. And I want to ask you this. How often do you say, I don't have enough money for this? I can't afford this. You know, how often are you saying that? And do you even know that you're saying it? Because that's the first step, is noticing that you keep saying that. It's one of the major roadblocks to your prosperity and abundance and to cash flow and wealth and stuff coming into your life that you truly do want to desire or do want to create, manifest. So I'm here with my favorite friends, the highest frequency people I know. And tonight we're launching the Activate Your Prosperity Life opening ceremony. We're kicking it off. So if you want to get into that party, it starts at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern time. You need to register now. So go in the chats above and press the registration link. And I invite you to even upgrade one more level, go even next, go into the VIP, because it's going up to $67 tomorrow tonight at midnight. It's going to be up to $67. So please register at $37. If you've been sitting on the fence and you want to come get extra close to us, ask us personal questions, ask us business questions, get advice on the spot so that you can start implementing the changes and activate your prosperous life in 2026. So I'm going to go around the room. Linda's right next to me. Linda, tell us what you know about this phrase that you might have done it before. I can't afford this. I don't have enough money. And also tell us how you help people to transform that.
Well, I think if you want to stay stuck where you are, if you want to stop yourself moving forward and having what you want in life, talk about what you don't have, what you can't afford, what you can't do, right? Our words have a tremendous amount of power. So when we talk about, and especially even if we're trying to manifest something, you know, I want a certain increase in salary, for example, if you do that coming from a place of, I want this because I don't have it yet, or it's been a struggle for me to get it. If you come from that place of lack, then you're going to stay there. So it's important to try and get into the vibration, the mindset, the energy of what you want, so that it can come to you, so that you can allow it. But talking about what you don't have, what you can't do, will keep you exactly where you are. And I think, what I help my clients do is help them see what they're doing, what they're saying, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and what it means. Because most of the time they're not really aware. And I've had this myself. I remember talking to a healer friend years ago saying, I don't understand why I keep attracting this into my life. And, I'm not like that. I'm not a negative person like this other person is. And she said, no, you're not. You're not like that with anyone else, but you are to yourself. You're pretty mean to yourself. And I thought, oh, wait a minute. So that was one of the first times I really recognized that in myself. So the words that we say in here and out loud are really important.
They are. And if you're around other people who are saying those types of things as well, you really can get into like a gossip party and a negative pity party with them. And it drags you down. And you don't even know you're in that vibration if you're hanging around. Say everybody in your office is the same. They all think the same. They don't believe in prosperity. They don't believe that they can create something better for themselves. Then you don't know the different energy because you're always in that energy. Melody, maybe you can even talk to that because you're an expert at that as well. And tell us about it.
I mean, intention is everything, and we have 37 trillion cells in our body listening to every word we think and say. So when you create that intention, like, oh, I don't have this money, then the universe is like, oh, well, and even your body will be like, oh, I can't do that. And even if like technically you don't have that money, we're in the time right now, it's a new era. We're in the time of co-creation. And we want to take action on little baby steps and just trusting that the universe is going to provide and the divine is listening and providing for us. So once we step into that trust field and being like, and you're mindful of what you want to create, you're speaking that, and then you're taking the baby steps, and the universe will meet you there and create that for you and bring the money to you somehow. We angels create miracles. We have all this team of angels and guides and working for us in our favor, and yeah, just trusting that it's all going to work out is helping us to get there. And of course, that's my working with sound and frequency clears out the subconscious memory of the lacks, the old paradigm, the old patterns that are running in the background. So we want to be intentional for sure. Intention is everything.
Yeah. And you want to be aware of what you're saying. And it's good to have friends and coaches and mentors who point out that you're saying that again, because you don't always hear yourself. You're not listening to yourself all the time. Connie, tell us a little story about maybe not listening to yourself, or that you or your clients have.
Yeah, so I'll admit I've been guilty of this at times when people said, "Hey, let's go do this," or or I see something that I really like, and it's like, "Oh, I don't have enough money for that right now," and then I stop and I just go, "Okay, this is something that I'm just going to put it out there that I want to buy this." So I do try to be aware. One of the things that I run across is, when a prospect contacts me and they want to improve their health, and for whatever reason, I think my prices are very reasonable, but for whatever reason, they feel that they can't afford it at that time. And the way I look at it, when I lost my health, as far as I was concerned, I was going to find whatever solutions I could find to regain my health. To me, my health was priceless, and I lost my health at age 52. So to me, regaining my health is priceless. And, as I've gone, I've been doing nutrition now for, I guess about 12 years. And as each year goes by, I am so grateful that I just said, no matter what, I'm going to pay for this. I want my health back. And that's what I try to instill in clients is right now, it seems like this is maybe for you a lot of money to spend. But without your health, what do you have? I mean, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have the energy or the vitality to be able to enjoy doing the things that you love doing, what's it worth? Having your health gives you the ability to do more, have more. So I believe that, watching your language around that, if we're saying my health is not worth it, your body hears that.
Yeah. And there's always this, like how you say something, it kind of directs your action too, right? Like it's all connected. Kelsey, you know a lot about the somatics and the body, and how does what we're saying affect our body and our actions?
Right. Well, and not only do I do somatics, but my first career was as an American literature and philosophy professor on speech acts, and how what we communicate is actually an act that we're putting out in the world, and how we communicate with ourselves. It creates our identities or how we understand who we are. So what we say literally is creating our reality. And actually, since I am a geek, I have this Olympophile book I started reading last night, even before you sent the email on the topic. And this quote I thought was really apropos. In the language of love, words are our soul. We are language. These ruins are palaces. And I thought, when we think of language as our soul, as this sanctuary that, has history, that we are entering the conversation with who we are and helping to co-create that as it moves forward. What is it that we want to put out there? What are we truly saying? Our words really do matter.
They do. They do. And even the words of this summit and the title of this summit, Activate Your Prosperous Life. Those words have power in them. And then very important person, very in tune person. You know, you can upgrade yourself just by saying certain words, and then those words, you know, elevate you. Trisha, tell us a bit more about like your purpose and, you know, lining up with the words that you say and doing your purpose work, your mission work.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have heard that saying, your word is your wand. It's literally putting it out into the universe, what you want when you say that. So when you're saying things like that, you're saying, I can't afford that. And it's literally just putting it out into the world and bringing it to fruition. So I agree with everything you guys have said, but I was going to take a different spin on my answer because I went ahead and put it in my wealth strategist, my Clara AI that's built in my image. And I wanted to give you guys a few things that she said based on all of the knowledge that I've put in and changing that verbiage to something else. So how can I create the funds for that? That is a different way of saying I can't afford that, right? That's not in my current budget, but I'm open to finding a way. That's my favorite that I came up with. I'm choosing to prioritize my resources differently right now. I'm calling in the perfect financial opportunity to make that happen. I'm investing in specific goal or experience when the time is right. So just a few ways to kind of switch up that language.
Thank you so much for like giving us the opposite, because that's essentially what we need to start saying is we need to start saying these things. Lauren, tell us how self-care and maybe investing in experiences that elevate you, that rest you so that you can even become more. People sometimes limit themselves on vacations or retreats because they don't have the money.
Absolutely. And I think kind of a guiding light for me is by saying this or something better, like leaving yourself open to the possibility of miracles or something blowing your expectations out of the water. We do encounter a lot of like resistance around retreats if people don't think that they're worthy of going on an experience, or they think they put it into a money container of like, no, I can't afford this. It's like you have to like realign them back to their goals and what they want for themselves and the state of being that they need to be in order to achieve those goals. I think we talked about it a lot yesterday, but the work that we do with nervous system activation and rest is so important because it allows you to be in that state of receptivity to what you want. And I love the reframes that Trisha brought up because that's exactly the key things is like, what are you investing in yourself in rather than what money are you spending on yourself? Because that makes the connotation that you're taking away from something else, but you're investing in yourself, you're investing in your well-being and your self-care. And that is the primary like anchor point that we should live life with, was just like, how do we serve ourselves, and not self-serving, but how do we care for ourselves in a way that allows us to show up for the life that we want to live?
Exactly. I love that. How do we show up for the life that we want to live? Brenda Lees, you are the quantum command word wizard. Tell us.
It was funny that everything worked out perfectly because I'm here. And I love this topic. So the way I see it is that every word holds a frequency. It holds an energy, and that energy has an impact in our body, right? So some words have higher frequency, like words that bring us more joy, it's among other things. Or they might just send us on this spiral of doubt or desperation. Those have lower frequency. So when you're saying, I invite people to just close your eyes and say that phrase again, I don't have enough money. And how does it feel in your body? Your body tells you exactly if there's like something that doesn't feel right. And that's the energy that you're translating in this moment in time. And I love Abraham Hicks. Abraham Hicks was my first introduction into these concepts. And Abraham Hicks says, you hold a frequency for 17 seconds and you're expanding more of that frequency, right? So think about it. If you're just saying, I don't have enough money, how it feels in your body, now you're putting all your attention into that, you're expanding that frequency for a longer period of time. That's what you're going to experience in the world. While there's different ways, and I love what Tricia shared, there's so many different ways in which we can start to shift that, right? Because it's never about the money, it's about something deeper than the money. So I also had like my quantum commands here to share some with you. So a couple of things people can say is, I choose sustainable wealth, and I choose to see the path of sustainable wealth. I allow money to meet me where I am, and I choose to open my heart to receiving money in unexpected ways. These are different ways, or I command the universe to show me that there is enough money and there's more than enough money in the world. So there's multiple things we can do just by using the right words.
I love it. I love it. Imani, you're going to have a beautiful take on this. I'm excited to hear it.
You know, I love what everyone is sharing about this process, you know, starting off as awareness that you're saying this, being aware of how your body feels. So if this is something I struggled with for sure, you know, and when I learned stop saying this, I realized I was thinking it and I was still believing it, even though I stopped saying the words. So I had to learn to say everything required to fulfill my desires is here and now. And that allowed me to shift my focus to identifying, okay, what are other ways? It may not even be through money. It may be, what are the other solutions? It's all about opening up to receive the guidance, to put you into that path or the direction, and to start being in frequency and to get coherent in what's emerging from you as the signal to the universe to support you. And so I love that when you do feel that discomfort, it's a catalyst. It's showing you you're out of alignment. And it's your job to get back into alignment. And so many of the ladies have shared their ways and the tools that we can use to get back into alignment. But it's the seed at the core of every one of us as divine beings, as co-creators of our reality. Everything required to fulfill your desires is here and now. So if you can shift to that focus and then begin to receive the solutions that come to mind, another energy that we can put into action or activate is that energy of gratitude. And that gratitude energy also allows us to tune in to what we need to see, that allows us to be truthful and authentic and, again, identify. Maybe you don't even actually need money right now for this, right? Thing that you're calling on, but that trigger, this word that we're saying to ourselves, use it as a catalyst to get back into alignment.
I love it. I love it. And what was just coming to me about myself is like your family, how your family and your ancestors connect or talk about money, how the patterns around lack and scarcity have maybe imprinted on you. That's where you start working with people with us, is because it's hard to unravel all by yourself. I spent over a year unraveling all the ancestral money patterns of my family, because we don't realize that they get imprinted into our subconscious. So we might believe consciously that we are worthy of it. And we might even be saying all the right words and it's still not happening. Then that's a sign that the subconscious is not on board for some reason. And it's so hard to fix yourself. It's so hard. You can't fix yourself. It's impossible. It's impossible because you can't fix anything. But it's so much easier when you have people seeing all of your blind spots and lovingly and gently guiding you to see for yourself how you might be getting in your own way. And that's what mentorship and coaching does, is it helps you to see how you might be getting in your own way. Linda, you help people break free from imposter syndrome. That's your talk title. So how does imposter syndrome reinforce the belief that we don't deserve more money or can't ask for it?
Well, if you feel like you're an imposter, that people are going to find out you're not really as good as they think you are, or as you pretend to be, then you'll just keep attracting more experiences that prove that to you. I find that with this topic of prosperity, abundance, it often comes down to money. All right, stop saying I don't have enough money. I like to take money out of it completely very often and say to people, well, what is the experience you're looking for? What is the experience you want? So let's say, for example, I've had several examples of this. I had somebody who wanted to travel to Italy, and she wanted to go for a couple of months at least. And she'd been trying to save up the money to go. And every time she was getting close to saving up anywhere near enough, something would happen where something would break down, a car would break down, or she needed a new refrigerator, something like that. So she'd have to spend the money on that, never had enough money. So I said, let's not think about money anymore. Let's think about Italy. What are you going to do when you go there? Where would you be? What kind of places do you want to visit? Immerse yourself in Italy. Listen to the language. Eat Italian food. Listen to Italian music. Just do that. Immerse yourself in the experience that you want. And then very soon after that, she was invited to go and teach in Italy. She spent 3 months there teaching. She got paid to go. She got paid while she was there. She had accommodation while she was there. So you see, the money was getting in her way. The focus on money only was getting in the way of her having this wonderful experience. So, if you're struggling, I would say take money out of it for now and just think about the experiences that you want. That's how you stop feeling like an imposter, because especially if you're saying, well, I want money to do a certain thing and you can't get there, you feel even more like an imposter. Well, obviously I'm not good enough because I can't make it happen. So take money out of it and think about the experience you want, get into the energy of that and allow it to come into your life.
I love it. I love it. The experience. So experiencing being a very important person, being very in tune, and taking opportunities when it's really low cost, like you're going to buy Starbucks for 4 days anyway, spend it on coming to the VIP experience that you can experience for over 2 weeks and get really coached and supported in a loving community. And experience the energy of being in prosperity and abundance. Melody, your talk, the New Earth Paradigm, we're moving from 3D to 5D. Tell us more about this energy, like how quickly things can change when you start practicing.
Yeah, well, the universe is abundant, and this is the abundance timeline. We have left the victim paradigm, the old 3D. We're helpless and we're empowered, and we are divine, and we are birth. Abundance is our birthright. We know this, or we should. There is no lack, right? But it's a lot about receiving, being able to receive what's coming, what you want, and opening that heart. So the 5D is about living from the heart and not the mind, and not just trusting and opening to be like, well, what if? And I love that Trisha, talked about reframing all of the sentences and the things like, what if something came in that this is possible for me? And if it is meant to be, it will. But opening the heart, a lot of us, each little thing that happens to us in our lifetime, we put up walls. One of the modalities I work with is emotion code, and it's like you get these little traumas trapped in the body, and we create this heart wall, and it blocks us from receiving abundance. And so working on that heart wall, or just working on opening the heart through meditation or through gratitude, which is a very powerful frequency, and other different ways of trusting and opening your heart, and the heart is the doorway to spirit. So spending more time developing a spiritual practice and connecting with the divine and your higher self, and like opening that heart, and so trusting and being open to receive, and then getting out of here, getting into the body, right? This is not our friend most of the time. I've worked long and hard on clearing my negative thoughts and catching them, and just noticing, wait a minute, I'm worth this. And this is what if you're feeling called, especially if you're feeling pulled to something and your body's telling you, you need to be here and go to this place, you know, you got to trust that it's going to unfold for you as it will, most likely, you know.
Yeah. I have a story, but I'll tell it after. Connie, tell us about how, you know, the power of menopause really is a time when we can, you know, activate more powerful thoughts, more powerful energy, be in the highest frequency of our lifetime for women.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to share a little bit more of my personal story. So when I literally was given the message that nutrition was sort of my purpose, or is my purpose, I was still working in the corporate world, and all of a sudden one day, like the word nutrition just like came flying out of my mouth out loud, and I thought, okay, I'm going to save my money. Because I wanted to go to school. So I'm going to save my money for school. I'm going to make sure all my debts are paid. I'm going to get everything in line. I'm going to find a cheaper apartment for while I'm going to school. Like I was putting everything in line, right? And it's like when all of that comes together, then I'll leave the corporate world and I'll, you know, follow my passion. And my body just kept getting sicker and sicker after that. It was, and I just kept ignoring it. I kept pushing it through, you know, just pushing through everything, continuing the corporate travel, all that kind of stuff. And I was sitting at my desk one day on a project. I was out of town and I was so miserable. I just felt awful. And I still feel bad about this, but I actually really reacted to a client's comment to me on the project. She just kind of came at me about something, and I realized these can be stressful times when you're working on projects, but I really reacted to her, and I just thought, I am not even myself right now. I would never do that to somebody. And it was right at that moment in time that I realized we can put as much plan into place, but if we're still feeling that lack, if we're still feeling that everything needs to be perfect before we move forward, we may miss out. It may never happen. And it was right at that point in time that I just thought, this is the perfect time to leave. I know that everything's going to fall into place for me to follow my passion. And what I experienced after that, you know, I already shared. I mean, I spent money to regain my health, but the power and the vitality, the vibrancy that I've gained over that 12 years, to be able to say today that I feel better at 64 than I did at 52, I had to open my mind to possibility and open my mind to what was out there for me. I saying that I don't have the money or this isn't the right time would have kept me in that place. And I don't even want to think about who I would have been if I would have continued down that path, because fearing I didn't have enough money. So that's where I've learned over the 12 years that our health, but especially for women going through menopause, where we feel like, you know, maybe this is just the way life is supposed to be for the rest of our lives. This is the way we're supposed to feel. I want to encourage women to invest in themselves, because they invest in others. We don't always invest in ourselves. To invest in ourselves, to see what's possible, because life can be amazing during menopause.
Yeah. And life can be amazing when you're a guy too, and you're investing in yourself.
Yeah, I just work with women.
Yeah.
So
And we don't need to age like we think we should be aging. We could actually be appearing younger and more vital as we age, because we get wiser. We get wiser. We get wiser. Kelsey, your talk, Fierce You, lead with confidence and power. How does like owning your value now play into this? How do you shift into, okay, yeah, I do want to start investing in myself. How do I lead with that?
Yeah, well, it reminded me of the conversations that everyone has been sharing of this moment when I was sort of in scarcity and freaking out about if my family could afford something. And my mom just kind of like looked at me and said, have I ever not been able to get you something that you really wanted? Have we ever not found the money? And I was like, no. And she's like, okay, well, when I stop being able to do that, you can freak out. And it was just that reframe that got me to kind of reset, to think about things, get out of that sort of nervous reaction. And I help that with my clients too, whether it's like leading or, you know, a money thing or anything about their lives, since they come to me with trauma, with wanting more creativity, with wanting to lead. And that reframe, the one that I think works really well to get them into that place of trust and confidence and really who they are again, is, you know, repeat back what they have said. And when, you know, this, just sort of like my mom did, you know, even though you're freaking out about this thing, if this is true, what would you like to have happen? And when they think about what they want, what they would like to have happen, and how they can go about getting that, that's where that trust and that confidence comes back. Because, and that's what we work on in getting them to embody, is those metaphors and those desires for trust and confidence.
And you're helping me remember, you know, these stories that we create in our head about our family, about when we were a kid. If you're very empathic, let's say you're really empathic, like many of us in this room, we might have been feeling the worry of other people. We might have been tuning into their issues because we were already healers before we even knew we were healers. And we might have thought we have to figure it all out. As a child, we started becoming adult, taking on responsibility that we didn't even, it was not our problem. We were meant to play and be imaginative and creative. And we started, you know, worrying about things well before that started planting a seed in us that now you might be unwinding. And we have all had to unwind all of those programs, because that's the type of people we are. We are empathic. We want everyone to have everything. We want everyone to have everything. Trisha, what did your soul come here for? You might have known this as a little kid, and then you turned away from your purpose because people were telling you, oh, well, you won't make any money doing that, because that's another way of saying I don't have enough money. Oh, you can't make money doing that. Do this instead, become the doctor, the accountant, the lawyer, and go away from what you're meant to do. How do you interpret that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I do think a lot of times as a kid, we knew what part of what we came here for. Part of what I came here for was to write books. I've written one. My next one, I am in the middle of writing it. It's called Where's the Sunflower Blooms? And it is literally like a romance novel, like a juicy romance novel collides with a spiritual awakening. And it's almost to kind of trick people into the spiritual awakening piece of it, because so many people read romance novels. And it's not gross or anything like that. It's a beautiful love story. And so when I was a kid, I used to write things, but it was myself that talked me out of it. I was like, I would crumple the paper up and throw it in the trash and be like, well, nobody wants to read that. Why would somebody want to read my story, right? And so as an adult, I became a writer and published my first book, I think 3 years ago. And so I think a lot of times we have a little bit of an inkling about what that soul purpose is, even when we're little. And I wanted to talk just for a second about like the generational change that we're talking about, because my mom came over one year for Mother's Day and shut the water off while I was cooking. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's like lack, right? Like I can't even have the water running while I'm trying to cook because I wasn't like standing at the sink. And my son did it to me again the other day. And I'm just thinking, okay, I have to make generational change multi-directionally because I'm the change maker, right? I'm the one that's breaking the patterns and really figuring this stuff out. And so I just, whenever people are operating out of lack, just really becoming aware of those around you that are operating that way. And I mean, I'm the same way. I mean, I've said I can't afford it plenty of times in my head and out loud. So we're all guilty.
Yeah. And it's just hanging out with the people that help you see yourself and help remind you that that's not you. You don't want to say that. You've said it to us, you know, it's not what you want to be aligning with. I love your phrases. You'll have to say another one. Say them at the end again. We'll repeat them. Lauren, you're next. Sustainable soul care for conscious leaders. So like a lack of self-care. How does a lack of self-care really reinforce scarcity in your life?
Absolutely. It is the foundational to accepting more prosperity and accepting more abundance is if we can't care for ourselves in a very fundamental way of having the amount of water that we want, being able to take more showers if we need to, small examples, but even like serving ourselves, like getting the organic produce and the organic food that we want, like serving ourselves in a higher frequency of like, this is what is going to nourish me. If we don't have that baseline, then it's hard for us to receive the higher things that we want and the jobs that we want or the clients that we want. So when you start saying yes to yourself on those fundamental self-care things, like for me, it was a big challenge because I mentioned it in another live stream that growing up, I was in the middle of 6 kids. And so like, I'm sure I took on a lot of stress from my parents, but it was all very much like everyone else first and I'm last. And so I had to reprogram myself to be like, no, I matter. I'm here. I deserve to be here. I deserve to have these things that I want. And that has created a foundation where now I can ask for certain things, make sure I'm in alignment with them, and then we start to receive. I think a lot of women, men too, but I think foundationally, a lot of women have a hard time receiving because we're caregivers. We care so much about the world that we're just outpouring all this love. Well, if you don't turn that love back to yourself too, then you're serving with an empty cup. And you don't just need to fill yourself so that you can serve. You also just need to fill yourself for you. And that's really important. That was a big mindset shift for me. And it's allowed for my company to take off. It's allowed for my business to take off in a way that had I been stuck like, oh, I just a little bit, not too much for me, then I wouldn't have been able to create what I've created and been able to do what what I feel like the universe has asked me to do and create. So it's very foundational to make sure that you have your baseline of okayness. And then again, that goes back to nervous system work and daily rituals, whatever it is that's going to nourish your soul as you move through life.
Yeah. I mean, I intentionally, and I invited Connie to come with me, but back in Cyber Monday or something, one of the resorts out here, Sparkling Hills, which is all Shorkasi crystals, and they have like 7 different saunas and pools and nurturing space. We booked it because I knew I was going to need a mini weekend retreat after hosting this summit. This is a lot of energy. This is a lot of holding energy and time and commitment and responsibility to make sure I can give you the best event and then take care of all the speakers and fill a live stream every day. Yeah. You know, I'm really like, wow. And I am code, you know, all of those results are coming because I'm maintaining this prosperity frequency. And while we're sitting here, more leads are coming in on my email, and you know, people are coming and joining the Prosperity Summit. So it's so interesting that if you pre-plan your retreat, you know, put things on your schedule, say yes to them before you get worn out, you know, like you're already full. Keep it maintained. I don't like to run out of gas. I like to stay on full.
Yes.
Brenda Lees, you're saying all the right things. So why isn't money responding? I giggle every time I hear this talk title.
And it's funny because that's exactly what we've been talking about the whole session today, right? So the power that words hold. And for me, I want to share just a quick story. So I've never had money issues. I've never worried about there's never enough. Because I remember growing up with my dad saying, you know what? Money's always coming. We don't have to worry. Money's always coming. And when the hardest times came, he was always so positive and like, yeah, it's gonna come. It's here. Money's here. Money's everywhere. And I remember that he would get like bulks of money, like he would get like extra cash coming in. People who owe him money would come in through. There was never a moment through my childhood where there was not enough money. Now, when I became an entrepreneur, that's a whole different story, because even though like he raised us that way, his experience as an entrepreneur himself were then translated into me, right? So one of the things that happened was, because he had so much issues being an entrepreneur, right? He always thought that it was important to have a job that was stable. So he raised us thinking that having a job that was stable was very important. So for me, through my childhood, he always had a stable job and he was an entrepreneur. Now I am an entrepreneur only, no stable job. Well, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. And then I'm hearing his voice and all his fears and all his concerns coming in. And that's when I began to have money issues, was when at that moment where like my reality, what I knew as it being safe was not safe anymore. And then I had to reinvent the way I was speaking to myself. And I think that's where words make a lot of sense. Like what we say, as we all have shared, becomes a reality. But it first began, as Imani had shared before, with us being aware. So if you're aware that the words you're saying feel a certain way, now you have the choice to do something different. Now you have the choice to tell a different story in a different way that feels much more comfortable.
I love it. I love it. Imani,
Mm.
activate your divine abundance ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
So
So many things are, yes, so many things are
tell us
coming
what's
to
coming
mind.
because you're last to go and you're just
You know, I think this is the one radical shift that everyone needs to be able to identify for themselves or make for themselves. And that is lack and scarcity is not real, right? It is not real. Abundance or absence of abundance, right? It's abundance is all there is. And I remember getting this download and that the creator is always giving you everything you need, like everything you need. It's the limiting beliefs, it's our fears, all of those signals and energies or blueprints that we start living by, or conditions that we start living by, is what starts limiting us. And so in the Afro-Indigenous tradition, to honor cycles and rhythms, and even to look around us at how the earth works, how animals work, the abundance is there for them. We, as multi-dimensional, divine human beings, have so much more tools to work with, to create with, and to co-create with, right? As what I call divine sparks of the creator that created all. So when I'm teaching entrepreneurs to build their system, it's this ecosystem. Like, you know, when we're in grade school and we learn that the animals are in certain types of ecosystems and the habitats and the, you know, how the rain is feeding the soil, there's rhythms, there's this beautiful blueprint given already for every animal, for everything that was created. And we have that too. And so I definitely love to tune in and help clients tap in to what that is for you, for who you are, for your circumstances, and to build that ecosystem that's not just strategy, but also that spiritual or metaphysical element, all the multidimensional ways that we are powerfully able to co-create. Those are what are applied and created in the system and an ecosystem. So I love to think of it not just as business systems, but this beautiful ecosystem that you've created for your business or for your project, or even just for you as you're managing your own life as a mother, whatever it is you have to manage in your own life. There's a beautiful way that we can flow. And it does start with some of the mindset things that we need to shift. And that radical shift I'm asking everyone to recognize is, first of all, the scarcity is basically a lie. So if you can shift into the truth of who you are and the truth of what is, abundance is always available to you. How are you going to call it in? How are you going to create and prepare yourself to receive it? And I'm sure all of the speakers and all of the content of Activate Your Prosperous Life, this is what this summit is all about. Right? And it's just turn on what you already are. And there's this saying about the new earth emerging. It's actually a return to our original divine form. It's a return to what we were destined to be and create. And so I'm so excited for what entrepreneurship is going to look like, this conscious entrepreneurship, what our new earth that we get to experience is going to look like. And we're the ones who get to shape it. So start recognizing your power to co-create and start recognizing, yes, those words you're saying, choose words that speak life into what you're trying to create. And It all starts with each and every one of us. And by you coming to the summit and learning everything you possibly can, so you can remember who you really are.
Yes. Remember who you really are. Come to the summit, press the registration button, take that next step, become a VIP, and hang out with us because we're having a party tonight. It's starting at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and we're activating tonight, setting the intention for your 2026, your prosperous year, your prosperous life. You are rich, wealthy, successful, accomplished, and divinely on time in every moment that you live. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all tomorrow with our next topic.